You're tuned in to the Smart Love Podcast, where real stories, real lessons, and real love meet. This is your space to grow, heal, and elevate every part of your life, from love and relationships to success and wealth. Smart Love is a blueprint to happiness and becoming your best, most irresistible self. It's all about that smart love. Get you some. We are continuing with our series, A Healthy Guide to Smart Love. And today we're going to focus on mental health. So the title of our session today is Mastering the Mind, the Guide to Cultivating Strong Mental Health for Smart Love. Okay. So super excited because, we've actually had, this to the stage. So do like this. Okay. So we've had sometime since our last session, because of course Mother's Day, and so my panelists that I'm bringing on today, my guests, they've done some homework, so they got some great gems that they're gonna drop for you all. So we're gonna dive right in. We're not gonna, keep you from all this good game, okay? So let me go ahead and add everyone to the stage. Let me change our, let me remove this for a second. Okay, hey, Nikita.
Hey, great afternoon. How are you?
Excellent. What's up, Mikkel?
Oh, there I am. Hey, everybody. All right.
Oh, well, I want to welcome you two back to Smart Love. You're becoming regulars now. I mean,
Good to be
the
back.
audience can't wait to hear you. Yeah, great to have you back. So I specifically chose the two of you to talk about this discussion because mental health happens to be an area of focus for both of you, right? So Nikita, tell us a little bit about your podcast, Mental Health is the New Wealth.
Okay, well, I'm Nikita Nicole, the Illuminist, the host and creator of Mental Health, the New Wealth, where we focus on just mental health and understanding that priority of making sure that you are healthy in the mind. And so that is my podcast. And you can find that on YouTube under Nikita Nicole ULTD.
Awesome. All right. And so the topics that you typically focus on your podcast, are they just, directly related to mental health practices, awareness? What would you find on a
They're
typical
geared
episode?
towards everything regarding the mind, how the mind works, down to habits, different mental health difficulties and disorders that we may have. But I must say, I am not a licensed professional, okay? All of these things that I have on my podcast come from research and my life experiences. Although I will have, licensed professionals on from time to time. This is just a girl who is intrigued with the mind.
Love it. I love it. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't wait to check out some more episodes.
Definitely.
All right. Mikkel, you
Yes,
good,
ma'am.
bro? You good, bro?
So everybody, I'm Mikkel Rosier. I'm a mental health therapist here in the greater Atlanta area, and trying to support our community to better understand something that has impacted our community more than the criminal justice system in America. So I think it's imperative that we do have a focus in this area. You can catch my podcast. You good, bro? We just had a recent episode release focusing on the lack of support that men receive for our self-care and how we do it. And actually the guilt and shame that comes along with the times that we don't put our families or loved ones first. So we talk about that. So we cover many topics, not just disorders or anything of that nature. We talk about just the experience, the Black experience, specifically from a male perspective. But I've come to find out that there are things that are unique for Black men in America, but men in general experience it. So I've gotten feedback from other culture or other communities that have heard the podcast, and they're like, man, I can relate to that shit. So it's kind of to be interesting for me. So as a clinician to find that out.
I love it. Okay, and where are both of your podcasts? Are they on like Spotify?
Yeah,
Apple?
my podcasts are on everything from YouTube, Amazon, Spotify, Google, all the major platforms cover Carry You Good Bro podcast.
Awesome. Make sure you drop your link in the chat so people, both of you, so people could go and listen to what you already have out there. Hey, there go Nip, necessary, unnecessary. What's up? Thank you for joining us. All right.
Hey, what's going on?
Okay, so today's focus, as I mentioned, is going to be on mastering the mind. And we just kind of want to give you all a few gems. I told you in the last two previous sessions, make sure you bring your notebook, your journals, your pens. You want to jot down some of these great gems that are going to be shared here today. Let's see here. Let me share. Okay. So we're going to kind of change our format a little bit differently. Today, we're going to kind of break this up into a couple of sections. So we'll start with Mikkel's going to kind of give us an overall mental health check, as I call it, and just, give us some information that's really going to help us understand how to be aware of, things that are impacting our mental health, strategies, things like that, terms. And I'm going to break down how mental health is affecting relationships. And Nikita is going to help us with some coping skills and strategies. So a lot of great game here today. Now, we're going to throw in some discussion topics. It's not just going to be simply sit back and take notes. We want you all to jump in with your questions in the chat, and we will reserve some time for questions from the audience as well. Sound good?
That sounds like a plan. All right.
Let's roll with it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Mikkel, if you can get yours geared up to go, I will add it to the list.
Oh, okay.
Is it there? I don't see it. Yeah, you got to share again.
Yeah, I gotta share. I play well with others. All right, so share. I think I'm sharing.
Yes.
All right, so get ready. Basically, I put together a couple of slides to kind of get a little touch of what mental health, what the human experience is, the impact of mental health in our community. I had mentioned earlier that mental health impacts us more than criminal justice. What I mean by that is that I think our total population is over 40 million, just over 40 million in the United States. And in 2018, 5.1 or 5.8 million African Americans identified or were able to identify that they had mental health issues all the way across the board, from addiction to schizophrenia to depression. And this is before the pandemic. So you can imagine that number might have went up. So more than 10% of our population were impacted by mental health issues that we still seem to be just figuring out what it is. So part of the struggle in our community is what we call, you may have heard the term emotional intelligence. Has everybody heard that? All right. So emotional intelligence is understanding that all of these words on this screen reflect the human experience. And whether or not you can identify with some of this stuff is really going to tell whether or not you are aware of this experience. So in the middle, basic feelings: sad, mad, scared, peaceful, powerful, joyful. Anybody can understand that. But when you start going out into tier 2, you may say, oh, well, I understand that. I can get with that. But when you get to tier 3, do you know what it feels to be remorseful, apathetic, responsive, discerning? Do you know how to express those things? Some people do not. But when we do learn it, we are able to communicate better and therefore have better relationships, to bring it full circle back to what we're doing here, right? So the topics I want to cover is what is stress, the chemistry, like we're puppets on a string, and I'll explain that in a minute. Black mental health, because I'm Black and I'm in mental health, so I want to talk about me. Signs of trouble. So here we're going to talk about the things you may see when you're in trouble and you may need to seek help, and brief overview of coping skills, because I know Nikita's going to go into detail with it, but what kind of therapist would I be if I didn't have it in the slides, right? So real quick, what is stress? That's just the body's response to any type of stimulus, whether it be internal or external. It is a function of the body. So without stress, we would not be alive. And I'll explain what that means. So you can't say I want a stress-free life, because that means you ain't living. So here we go. I mean, stress has a purpose, right? So here's a basic pyramid, Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid. If you went to college, you definitely saw this. But basically, Abraham Maslow is a physician that kind of broke out what it is to be human, like the actual, how should I say, what drives us, right? So physiological needs, you have to attain all of these things before you can go to the next level in the pyramid. So in other words, you're not thinking about security and safety if you're hungry.
Mm-hmm.
You'll go out into a war zone to find something to eat, right? But once you establish that, then you're trying to find safe spacing. You're not thinking about making love if you're getting shot at, right? So if you establish security and safety, then you can start looking at intimate relationships. And, you can read it, but you see what I'm talking about, right?
Right.
Self-actualization, which is where we think we are, is when we kind of have this what's the meaning of life conversation. You're not really thinking of that if you haven't established the previous 4 spaces. So this is just kind of setting you up to what's your motivation. Okay. Stress, there's eustress and then there's distress. Eustress is the things that keep you alive. So nutrition, as you can read, problem solving, physical activity. Those are the things that make you human and keep you pushing along, right? But when you start layering on this next level of stress, life gets a little bit more difficult, does it not?
Mm-hmm.
And this is stuff that's in your direct control, right? These are choices. These are things that are impacting you directly that you're literally, I guess you could say, deciding what to interact with. But then we add in latent stress. These are things that are kind of out of your control. Because these trauma, this stuff that comes across your social media, these police shootings of unarmed Black men, watching that over and over and over, inherent racism, the images of ourselves that are negative that are in social media, that, because I'm not a fan of Sexy Red, I'm just saying. So, and I got a list, but
where did that come from?
I'm just saying negative self-image.
Agreed. It's stressful. It's stressful. Looking at her.
It is stressful.
Listening to her.
And you see the person that's backing her, it would even piss you off even further. All right, so
she might be happy with her self-image.
Yeah,
she is, but it's made to stress us out. It's latent
stress. Yeah, it's a motivation behind it, right? She's a tool right now. All right, so I said tool. I ain't say hoe.
A tool.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's your Freudian slip, not mine. All right, so anyway, let me skip through. But the point is, there's eustress and then there's distress. Distress is what ends up tearing us up. And what I mean by that is we are basically puppets on a string. We are flesh chemistry sets. And inside we have chemicals that drive our total experience. And I'm going to sit here for a second so that the viewers can kind of read through it so that they can better understand what is going on chemically inside of them and what it's driving. Any questions from either one of you while I'm on here?
No, but you're going to break this down, right? I'm learning right now. I'm getting a free therapy.
Well, so neurotransmitters or hormones are what kind of set how you see the world. So, for example, say your boyfriend or your girlfriend just made you upset, right? Chances are you're going to have an influx of epinephrine or adrenaline, and it changes your focus. It is in charge of whether you panic. It is in charge of your excitability. So when you like, look here, motherfucker, like you really are full blown adrenaline pumping in you, right? If I took all the adrenaline out of you, you wouldn't be able to act that way. It's a purpose for it. Adrenaline is tied to our amygdala, which is tied to our self-preservation, their fight, flight, or freeze mechanism. So adrenaline prepares you to fight, flight, or freeze. Your muscles actually get harder when you have adrenaline and cortisol pumped into them, and those are the two chemicals that are there. If you didn't have the two chemicals, you wouldn't be able to have that reaction. The love chemical is oxytocin. That's sex, and when you first have the baby and you hold the baby, everybody gets a huge dose of oxytocin when they hold the baby. The baby gets a huge dose of oxytocin. Oxytocin is specifically for connection and empathy. That's why if you don't hold your baby for the first 2 years of their life, you'll develop a detached sociopath.
I got a quick question. So isn't oxytocin is it like stronger in women or something like that? I've heard that for
So
instance,
oxytocin, oxytocin in women it would naturally be higher because you nurse the children. So that means you constantly have this pump, and that's why you guys are more empathetic than most men.
Okay.
It's just y'all naturally have this chemical higher. It's one reason why men like sex more than women, because it's a great chemical to have, and we only get it when we lay down with you for the most part, right? It's like, unfortunately, for us to get the dose of oxytocin that we like, it is by sex. It just is. So when we don't have that, we lack empathy, we lack connection. So we need sex for connection.
Okay.
Got any questions? Okay, so dopamine and serotonin really do drive, how can I say this? Everything else in life. So when you talk about mental health issues, it typically is tied to one of, if not both of these chemicals. And you'll see that here on the next slide. So I call it the chemistry of life. So when you look at these mental health disorders here, like schizophrenia is a large amount of dopamine, right? Than what you normally need. But if you look down here at depression, low dopamine, low serotonin. Love, everything seems to be balanced, high serotonin, high dopamine, and high oxytocin. Fight or flight, remember I talked about that on the previous slide. At norepinephrine and epinephrine. You're going to have high amounts. Happiness is serotonin. Now, what makes serotonin about happiness? 90% of serotonin, notice is for mood, emotions, appetite, and digestion. 90% of this hormone is in your gut, not in your brain. So it is literally regulating your brain from your gut, meaning what you eat impacts how you feel. How about that, Nikita? All right, so
I got a question. So when you get prescribed medication, let's just say like for depression or anxiety, is it basically supplementing one of those missing chemicals?
So it's not, it's not supplement. It's not a supplement. What happens, and this may be getting a little bit deeper than I wanted, I didn't have that in the slide, but I'm glad you asked. All right, so in your brain, the synapse, the space between the synapse releases these chemicals. This is a messenger, okay? And what happens is that serotonin fires into between the synapse, and it's like, oh, you're satisfied. And then I'll reuptake the serotonin, and it could either be metabolized into your system or stored. what the medication or psychotropic is doing, it is keeping your synapse from reuptaking the serotonin, so it sits out there longer. So you can just like, if say you fire happiness, it fires into the synapse and then it's supposed to get pulled back up, right? Well, it stays there. And if it stays there, the next time it fires, it's now increased. Now you got more serotonin out there than you normally would have, but it's maintaining your mood. And it's just the reuptake inhibitor is keeping the chemical in the area sending happiness signals. So that's how it reverses the depression. I'm trying to break it down in layman's term. But that's what the medications are doing. All right.
Gotcha.
So like I said, we're puppets on a string, and if you can alter the chemicals, then you alter how you see life. Make sense? Am I losing anybody? Everybody's on?
Oh yeah, that's mind blowing. Yeah.
Okay. So I said it earlier, this is kind of a breakout of that 5 or so million people that were suffering 5.9 million that were suffering in 2018. If we're at 41 million total population, this is more than 10%. This is closer to like 13% of our population is suffering from some level of mental health or substance abuse disorder. I think the population of people that are incarcerated is 0.01%. But everybody want to talk about crime, though. Nobody's talking about mental health issues. Whose dog is that?
LaDonna's.
I know, I'm messing with her. All right, so
it helps her serotonin.
It helps the serotonin. Yeah, I bet. But this is kind of like a breakdown what the percentage of population, like major depressive disorder, like 10 to 12% of our population suffers from this. General anxiety is higher than everything. And that's because we live in a society where we have targets on our backs and we know it. Bipolar disorder is smaller than you think. Most people think, people will say, oh, they bipolar. I'm not saying that they are not, but I think we use that term a little more than anything else when really it's tied to general anxiety disorder. PTSD, I think this number is higher. It's just not being reported as such. And schizophrenia is a small fraction of percentage. Common mental health symptoms for men. Remember, I kind of focus on this area. When we are suffering from some type of mood disorder, we tend to be overly aggressive, difficulty focusing, obsessive thinking, persistent low mood, or persistent high mood, not necessarily bipolar, and unreasonable fear. I kind of want to hang on unreasonable fear because a lot of people don't understand what that means, right? So if say, for instance, like, for example, in Georgia, this is an open carry state, right? Is it unreasonable to carry a firearm?
No.
Yes or no? Well, definitely not these days, right? Now you got to wear them when you go to the grocery store.
Right.
However, is it unreasonable for you to carry 3 firearms on one person plus ammunition?
Yes.
Right. So unreasonable fear. So when we overdo it, it's when we take it 2 steps further because we are thinking about the worst case scenario. So unreasonable fear is really subjective, but for your loved ones, you should know, you could tell when somebody that you love is kind of getting too far gone. There's a physical manifestation when we have mental health issues, and they are chronic headaches. Definitely if you suffer from general anxiety disorder, constipation, horrible sleep, and little to no energy. The raised heart rate, high blood pressure could be genetic. However, if you have any of this, I want you to get checked out by your primary care physician, and then after that, a mental health professional. Some signs of activities I think is important. With the rise of HIV in the younger population that we have here in Atlanta, higher risk sexual activities. This is a sign that we are having some mental health symptoms. All right. Substance abuse, addiction is really it feels like it's on the rise for me. It does. I'm just putting it out there. So please get evaluated. If you drink more than once a week and it's like heavy drinking, or you feel like you can't have a good time without a drink or a smoke, please get evaluated. It could be an issue. Okay.
Wait,
So
you said more
uh,
than once a week?
yeah, like if you're drinking 3 to 4 drinks more than once a week, like what are you trying to escape? Because alcohol and drugs is just an escape. If you can't laugh without drinking and smoking, you need to talk to somebody.
Mm,
I'm just saying it like that.
okay. I mean, some
Like,
people use it as, a way to unwind, but I
mm-mm.
but I understand like 3 or 4 days does seem a bit
Well, let
excessive.
me just say this: unwinding, meaning you're using a coping skill.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about coping skills work for you until they don't. If it
Mm,
takes more away from you than it gives you, then it's a problem.
okay.
So if I'm drinking, as a father, what am I missing?
Mm,
I'm present but absent with my children. I'm present but absent with my wife. They don't feel like I'm here for them. Therefore, they may develop resentment for me. They may not be responsible for me. They may not respect me. I may end
mm,
up missing work because of hangover. I may end up having high blood pressure because my arteries are getting hardened by how much but I still drink, even though these things are happening. That's addiction.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
All right. So that's what I mean. So you,
Yeah, I
y'all.
understand. Like it's starting to affect your life, and like I like how you broke that down with those examples because
Mhm.
because just off the bat, like just thinking like, okay, if I like to have the wine at the end of a stressful day, does that mean I have a mental health issue?
I'll
But
be honest with you. I'm gonna tell you, in treatment facilities I worked in, it was way more women than men, and it was driven by having a wind down wine at the end of the day because they ended up becoming bottles, and
mm,
a bottle becomes bottles with an S, and then you're
Mm-hmm.
not managing your house, you're not managing the relationships around you because you're disconnected from them. That's the problem with smoking and drinking as a coping skill. It does work because it turns off your amygdala, which means you don't think about the stress, right?
mm,
The distress. You know what I'm saying? You might still be hungry, but you're not thinking about the boss that pissed you off or who cut you off in traffic. It does work until it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you got to develop new coping skills. You can't just sit there with it. Lastly, socially disruptive behavior. Um, Emotional intelligence. Here's a chart on, I saw somebody a comment fly by about emotional intelligence. So for them, I'm going to sit here for like 10 seconds.
I think Nip was asking what was the best book to read on emotional intelligence, but I'm going to tell you, Nip, first start by taking a screenshot of this and let Mikkel break that down. And then, Mikkel, if you could recommend a book.
Yeah, I got to think about that. I mean, the books that I read are scholastic books. They're not like, they're not like great stories with them. Like it's not,
It's like
it's
textbooks.
right. These are textbooks. I have to have textbooks. I don't, when I'm not doing psychological work, then I'm reading stuff, but my stuff is textbooks because I have to create these documents. Um, but low emotional intelligence, meaning this person does not have the capacity or the vernacular to express themselves. So they choose what's common for them. Like since I work a lot with men, we are raised to believe that you can't cry, but you can show aggression and you can show happiness. These are two emotions that we are allowed by society to do and still be considered a man,
Mhm.
which means our behavior, because it's dualistic, will seem very childish. Does that make sense? So aggressive, bossy, confrontational, poor listener, selfish, always got a smart mouth, very resistant to change, um, hard to please, and perfectionist. These are all attributes of someone with low emotional intelligence.
Mm.
I'm gonna let that sizzle in your spirit for a little bit.
It also sounds like a
And it's
narcissist.
sizzling.
Is
Well,
that a,
let's be no,
is that a
but
mental illness?
so narcissistic personality disorder is not narcissism is in everybody. Without it, we wouldn't even have this podcast. Narcissism is basically your driving towards your passion, things you want to be good at. You want to be the best at what you do. That's what narcissism is in your personality. To be the
Mm.
best, you have to believe you're the best. If you believe you're the best, then you can't be wrong. Now it's becoming a disorder. You know,
Mm.
a lack of accountability is a sign of narcissist, right? But there are other attributes to narcissistic personality disorder that have to be in place. And I think that the scope of what we're doing here is really not a safe place to go into that. But just understand that everybody has narcissism. It's like
I
a
have
volume switch.
heard that before.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's like a volume switch. It goes from 0 to 100. And as you turn it up, it gets too loud, right? And when it's too loud, it's bothering others, right?
Uh-huh.
The person with the personality disorder is their volume is at 75 to 100. And everybody's like, yo, man, you doing too much. You too much, man. Like it's a problem. So that's how you should see attributes of your personality when you say it's a disorder, is that everybody's volume switches are different. And narcissism in your personality gets too loud to where you can't ever be wrong about anything. You don't know how to apologize. You're unempathetic. It's really kind of it's kind of sociopathic. So it's like you all the rules apply to everybody but you.
Mm.
The previous leader of this country is a pure narcissist as a disorder.
That's a
If you need
disorder.
a visualization, that's what we're he has a couple of diagnoses, but he's a good illustration of that.
Mm.
Mm.
This is a person that claims to love but doesn't really know how to express love, very superficial, never wrong, everybody's against them, that type of stuff. So, yes, to answer your question, LaDonna, are these attributes of someone that can be narcissistic? Sure. But understand that these are also attributes of a child, a dualistic perspective,
Mm.
black or white, bad or good. And as an adult, things have to be in color, like in the middle, right? Shades of gray, so on and so forth. So if you have high emotional intelligence, here are the attributes of it, of which I think are very helpful, is that they're careful, they're patient, they're enthusiastic, sociable, assertive, and strong will. All right.
Mm.
All right, here we go. That was a long-winded answer, wasn't it? We mentioned maladapted coping skills earlier. Notice that drinking and smoking is here. Food, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Trivializing or intellectualizing, that's the other thing. Like we'll make arguments that really don't jive well with what's going on. Like she cheated on him because he cheated on her. Well, how is that helpful? You know what I mean? Like that's still destructive,
Mm-hmm.
but it makes them feel better. I got a hall pass, that type
Mm.
of ish. Displacement is very common, and then our favorite, petty, which is passive aggressiveness. Um, procrastination is a coping skill. In case people didn't know, it's not about being lazy. So please check that. Let's see. Any questions on
You
this
know,
slide?
you know what? There's one that I don't see on here that was just kind of brought to my attention that this could be a coping mechanism is sexual addiction.
Yeah, I mean, having sex
That could
is
be covering
definitely
up some mental.
well. It's an escape. It's a type of escapism, just like smoking and drinking. So process addictions. I think I had a slide back that mentioned process addiction. I didn't really go into it, but like staying ridiculously busy, workaholics is a word for real. Anything that helps you not deal with reality
Mm-hmm.
is a maladaptive coping skill. Got it. All right.
Got it.
Here's a quick one. I'm gonna get off the screen, Nikita. Hold on.
No,
Anything?
you're fine. This is lovely.
Do you want to talk about anything? Anything on here resonate with you?
Go ahead.
Okay. So somebody mentioned the book earlier, Emotional Awareness: Tools for Identifying and Expressing Your Feelings. You can get a chart of emotions like the feeling wheel that I showed in the beginning. I always push journaling. I don't think we have enough time to talk about why that's so important. Just trust and believe me. If you're having issues, journaling is the first step to coming out of that space. Um, so bring some writing supplies. If you're an artist, draw, so on and so forth. So um, self-soothing is something that is a technique. This particular one technique is where you activate the five senses of the mind. That way you are distracting the mind from whatever the distressing thought is or distressing situation is. Okay. People always talk about mindfulness, meditation, relaxation, recording, so on and so forth. But I tend to put my black flavor on it. One of my favorite things to do is to make a playlist of your mood that you want to talk. Like if you depressed, put a playlist together, depressing songs, and it got to be your joints though. It got to be ones that you like. Man, I love listening to this one. I used to love, and no shit to Sade, but you know, I got introduced to Sade when my grandmother passed. So that whole vibe of Stronger Than Pride, that energy helped me heal as a kid because she's talking about some serious stuff and I was able to extend it. So I tell my sisters and brothers, make a playlist as a mindfulness exercise. Let me see. Of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk to you about a crisis plan, um, a therapist on dial, the crisis team, or hotline for the state of Georgia. And of course, it would escape my mind the number to dial for a crisis line. I love getting older. Obviously, family and friends are there for your support. They may not necessarily understand what you're going through, but they love you enough that they want to see you through it. You know, if that's just to hold you while you're working for it. An opposite action. If you feel sad, watch a comedy special. If you're mad, go work out. Do the opposite action. I mentioned friends. How many of us have them? Mm-hmm. So, what do you? Somebody tell me that just saw this. What is the purpose of acquaintances? Why are they so important?
Why are acquaintances important?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are people that you meet when you pass, in your day, every day, and just keep that camaraderie up and keeps you kind of alive. They're not somebody that's particularly very close to you, but there's somebody that you, I guess I would say, get to practice with, so to speak.
Get to practice what exactly? Go ahead. You on the right path.
Your relationships, your how you interact, just your communication and your peopling skills in general.
And what type of communication? You almost there?
Social.
Do you cuss at them?
Sometimes.
I ain't talking about somebody in the traffic.
Oh.
What you cussing at acquaintances for? Oh my God.
Oh, like people that okay, like so just people in passing. No, you don't cuss at them.
That's an acquaintance. This is somebody like if you stay in an apartment complex, you recognize their face, you may not know their name, but it's like, right. But if you're like, hey y'all,
emotional connection with them.
It is literally, I recognize you and I'm gonna be friendly.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good feeling. That's an oxytocin feeling. So if you're going through things, acquaintances, just getting out of the house, being out in the world can help you come out of depression. It may not necessarily help if you have like social anxiety. However, seeing familiar faces do lower your anxiety if you have social issues. Casual friends, if you like to play golf, special interests, playing ball, these are people that you interact with just to do the things you enjoy doing. Thank you, Nikita. Close friends, obviously, these are people you hang with. You can cuss them out, they can cuss you out, and y'all still be friends. And on the top of the pyramid are intimate friends. These are the people that know where the bodies are buried. And you know where theirs are, and they know where yours are. Y'all keep it real, and they want the best for you. Some people got people that are close to them that should not be close to them. And I'm gonna leave that right there. Process of change. If you have somebody in your life that you know needs help, you need to understand what stage of change that they're in. In therapy, we talk, or in psychology, we talk about pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance, especially when we're dealing with addiction. Some people don't think there's anything wrong with their behavior. And they don't see the failures of it. And you as a loved one, off of that previous list, are charged with making sure that they see it. You ever see those interventions where the families come together and they're like, LaDonna, I'm gonna read this letter to you about how your actions have destroyed our family. They're talking to somebody at a pre-contemplative stage.
Right.
And the goal is to get them to contemplation, and then get them to preparation, and then to action, right? So you have to understand where your loved one is for you to be effective in helping them. And that's the only purpose for the slide, just so that you can understand why they're not moving if they're not moving. In summary, it's not the burden that kills you, it's how you carry it. Most people try to heave, and walk with it on their own. They compartmentalize it. They keep it to themselves. I'll tell anybody every day, the only way you can heal an open wound is to give it some light. It needs some sun. You can't just bandage it up and think it's going to heal back properly. You got to have sunlight. You got to put a spotlight on the issue, or else it's never going to heal properly. And that's pretty much me. That's all I had. I got references there for those who are interested. Is my email address and my link.
Y'all tap in.
And that's it. So I'm gonna stop sharing. Where did Donna go?
Sorry.
Okay. All right. I was saying thank you.
Okay. All right. No, thank you so much for that, Mikkel.
Oh, that wasn't too much, but
that was perfect. Not at all.
Yeah, that was a great lesson. And I think that you covered a lot that I feel like kind of sets the stage for the rest of our conversations. Because I know like we use the term mental health a lot without really defining like what that means and how it shows up and what it looks like, and
right.
How to understand when someone is dealing with these issues. Some of these things that we start to normalize, like that's just, it's normal to be, to use things to cope with your stress. It's normal to, exert these type of personality traits when you're upset, So I think that the way that you broke it down really kind of gave us a little more insight into what we're talking about when we speak on mental health. So thank you.
No, my pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. So Nikita, did you have any follow-up questions?
I didn't have any follow-up questions. I had like just a little tidbit. You know how they say back in the day in church, I was getting ouched. So it was a whole lot. I was looking in, I was like, "Ooh, that's my house right there." Like,
I'm gonna tell you something. If there's any consolation, I don't know many mental health professionals that didn't have issues. For me, mine was general anxiety disorder and anger. So I had like anger issues, and I I didn't realize it,
Mm-hmm.
and my narcissism at that time was, I erred on the side of doing the right thing. And what's wrong with y'all? How come y'all ain't doing right? Just that and the third. Like I always had the sermon for you, but I wasn't taking ownership of how I may be affecting others. And I was hurting a lot of feelings, and I ain't have no remorseful feelings about it. Now that's narcissistic. That is narcissism in a classic case. But the reality is that as you figure out who you are and you develop who you remember the stat that I showed you that said like 40%, 31% of our population suffers from anxiety disorder.
Mm-hmm.
If you're anxious, you are not in a state of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Go back to that pyramid. You are stuck there. So most of us don't even know who the hell we are. So we develop these coping skills to kind of manage the stress that we get, because I don't know what is the proper response for somebody saying something slick to me. Should I just walk away, or do I need to do something else here? Or you know what I mean? Like we haven't spent time as adults, as children, learning who we really are. What are our true value systems? We live by rules and regulations of the system that we then create. And we are magical people, so we're able to survive and thrive in it to some degree. But I don't think this is how we were intended to be living.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And so that kind of brings me into this topic of discussion, kind of bringing it back to relationships,
Mm-hmm.
healthy relationships. So let me just share. Okay. So when it comes to, oh, this is small. Hold on, my glasses on. Excuse me. Oh, no. Okay. So when it comes to mastering our mind, we have to be aware of the fact that our mental state will influence how we connect with others. By understanding and managing our thoughts and our emotions, using that emotional intelligence that Mikkel, kind of broke down for us, can help us to create deeper, more fulfilling relationships. So the goal of today was really to kind of uncover some of these key mental mastery strategies, to better understand mental health issues and how it shows up in our relationships, and how us actually tackling some of these issues and finding better ways to cope and manage them will help enhance our relationships. Here's a quote from William James: "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another."
Mm.
Let that sink in. Our ability to choose one thought over another. The glass is half empty versus half full. I'm going to go off versus I'm going to
Oh no, I'm going off. No, I'm
go some
saying.
empathy. Then I go off. Nothing.
All right.
Some of the impacts, these are just some statistics that I pulled up. Some of the impact that mental health has on relationships. Of course, it attributes to the higher divorce rates. Nearly 50% of marriages where one partner has a bipolar disorder can end in divorce, just for example. Um, it can cause breakdowns in relationships. About 60% of people with severe mental illness report that their condition negatively impacts their relationships. There's no, surprise there. It can cause, a strain in relationship. It could lead to, misunderstanding, not being able to communicate, just all of these things would be, negative impacts on a relationship due to mental health issues that go unchecked. Couples with mental health conditions report they have lower relationship satisfaction. Oops. And it, it may not even be due to anything that their partner is doing. It's just that, these mental health issues that they are facing negatively impacts how they feel about their relationships. Um, their partners can also experience significant stress due to the mental illness. And it just caused significant dissatisfaction on both sides, which of course causes discourse in relationships. um the effects that the quality of a relationship can be affected by mental health, because it kind of affects our ability to cultivate strong supportive relationships. um it can affect our ability, to bond, the nurturing that typically, goes along with the relationship, that, person is expressed dealing with mental illness, that, might be hard for them to even do something that, should come naturally. Um, so it's very important to, maintain optimal mental health and overall well-being to really improve the qualities of our relationships. Just some points here, having supportive partners that can help you, provide resilience, especially when you're going through, these hard times. Creating that quality social bonds are also very crucial, as Mikhail just described, like just even having acquaintances that you can invoke that positive, oxytocin hormone with just with normal exchanges. So it's very important to have relationships, positive, healthy, supportive relationships when you're dealing with mental illness. Mental illness can show up as violence in a relationship. Um, you know, some of the statistics here show that 45% of women and 25% of men with depression or anxiety have experienced some type of violence, whether it was um, inflicted on them or that they were inflicting on others. Having a poor mental health can lead to like a vicious cycle, you know, of you know uh, violence, where it's just say someone is in a situation that they're already kind of experiencing some type of mental illness, depression, something of the sort, and then now violence is like inflicted on them or vice versa. It's kind of creates a cycle of hurt people, and it's just again like not dealing with some of these things um can really, impact negatively our relationship. The holistic approach is all about, addressing both the mental health and, physical outward, like emotional, verbal violence against, someone that you're in a relationship with. Those are things that you need to check. And I hate to bring this up because like I really didn't want to, but um like watching that P. Diddy video
Girl, don't do it.
with Cassie. No,
Mhm.
I'm only gonna bring this up because in his apology video, he mentioned some sort of like mental breakdown or something, that he was at
Yeah,
his lowest.
he went to rehab. He has a therapist. Um, all of which could have possibly happened, and they would be consistent with some of the things that I was aware of about lifestyle. So it could be
Hmm.
true. But they, to your point, addiction does exacerbate, intimate partner violence. So
Hmm.
it plays a part. That relationship was what, 10 years old, 10 years old
Mm.
relationship. So
Hmm.
It was a
you
course
know,
over a long period of time.
long
Yeah.
period of time. Like the actual video. that's out. It's been so long ago he can't even be charged with a crime.
Really?
It's outside the statute of limitation.
Okay, well, so that brings me to our discussion.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to drop that on you.
No, I'm low.
Gonna like, damn.
It's like lock his ass up, okay? Lock his ass up. Damn.
He was Zaza's.
Okay, so my only thing is now, like I agree, Mikkel, like all that could possibly be true. You know, he was going through some things at that time. He's thought, help, and he's, now a better person for it. But what advice would, and either of you could jump in here, like what advice would you give someone in a relationship, in a volatile relationship like that, with someone that has some sort of mental, issue that is going unchecked? Like, is it, through sickness and health, and in health, this is the sickness part. We gotta, help each other through it. Or, what I'm saying? Like what advice would you give someone? Like, is it, try to help them get help, save yourself?
I'm not a doctor, and I keep on saying it. I'm not a doctor, but not having been in a relationship as such, that didn't just start off like that. And when you saw the actual tapes, other than the abuse, but how it was happening and what was going on, him doing what he was doing and her not hitting back, fighting back, you're laying there. Him taking her personal belongings, i.e. purses or whatever, taking it back to the room, then coming back out. There was a certain level of ownership that he put on her. You know what I'm saying? And it just did not happen like just right then and there. So I'm saying that to say for people to be mindful and look at signs. And that's kind of what I'm going to kind of talk about also. Be mindful and look at signs because, it's this whole culture of, get flued out and, let him do this, that, and the third. But there is a price to pay for some of that. And I'm not saying that everybody that, lavishes their mate in nice things or cares for their mate in a certain way is abusive in this way. However, I am saying that there is a certain level of ownership that comes when there is a one-sided relationship to where one person is doing all the giving and and then another person is doing all of the receiving. It creates an environment to where now you are no longer my partner, but you are my property. So I can do what to you, I can do when I want to do, and as you've seen there, and I'm not saying this is their exact thing, but even other than just watching the scenario, I was watching how it happened, her response to that, his responses to that. So it was more than, just that, but she was his property. And so I'm just saying all that to say, you just need to be mindful of when people do things, you know what I'm saying, why they're doing them. The little sly things that people might say to see if you have a response. Before you on the floor get kicked, there probably is some slaps. There probably is some chokes. There probably is some isolation. What is that? Okay, so I'm just saying all that to say that, it just doesn't start with that. Like Michael was saying also, there is a 10-year relationship, and it did not just start at that. It was, a progression of that to where, unfortunately, it ended up in on that level.
Yeah, but what do you think? So like this whole not excuse but like his reason thing, like, and I hate when people I can't
apology, but to that level, you can't say, of course, and no shade to the man, you feel me? But of course you get on there and be like, I had some issues. That was clear. That we understand that you had some issues, but that still does not mean that you can put your hands. That means go to the gym. That means get into kickboxing. That means get into NFC fighting or something else. That does not mean beat your girl to that extent. You know what I'm saying? So of course, in defense, he's gonna say, brother was tripping. I didn't see the apology, but I had some issues, and that's clear. We understand that you got some issues, but there's ways that you can choose, like you said, being a choice. There's ways that you can choose to go about your anger and things of that nature. And then also, if you're abusing drugs and things like that, it's harder too for you to hold some of those things back too. So it's so many layers. But of course, bro, gonna go on there and be like, oh, I was going through it. Yeah, we know.
Well, I mean, can I say this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna say this. That's what I was afraid of. It's like we have to recognize that mental health is more than just one thing. It's more than just people in crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health, if you go back to if you think about the slide where I have the chemicals out there, right? And if you have that's just a few chemicals. I think there are probably, don't give me the line, I think it's more than 40 some odd chemicals that are in our hormone or neurotransmitter, or a mix thereof. I got to go back and check. But the point is that slide that I showed were just the ones that are based off of depression and anxiety. To have a personality disorder is a little bit more than just a chemical issue. It is your brain is wired a certain way, right? A serial killer is not missing. It's not just missing oxytocin. I mean, they are, but they're not. You know what I mean? It's
missing that. Yeah,
it's more to it than that. So when we talk about someone that is willing to, strike a woman that he says he's loved. I mean, I've heard of him striking other women, all the way up to his mother, which I don't know is true. So it's alleged. So yeah. I don't know if y'all familiar with Gene Deal, but Gene used to be his primary security guard till he wasn't. And he's been talking about this stuff for years before any of this came out. But the point is that when we're talking about disorders that are personality, there's more to it. Yeah, he probably did go to rehab. Yeah, he probably does have a therapist. And he may be on some psychotropics. Hence the rebranding of being called love. Like he may be trying to take a different path than the one he had previously. But at the same time, personality disorders are not curable. They're just, it's with you forever. So it's not giving an excuse for him to say he has a mental health issue. It really is a fact of life, if you will. It's just like if someone told you had cancer, stage 4, it's gonna be with you for the rest of your life. It's not curable. And it's just it's not an excuse for anything. It is just kind of helping you understand why something is happening. Would you ever be safe with him as your intimate partner? Probably not. But that's why he has money. Some women are willing to participate, and some men, if that was the case, because there's a bunch of alleged stuff out there for that too. At the end of the day, there's always somebody that has a price. That's the sad part.
Yeah. So going back to my question, if you do recognize that there are some, personality disorders that are being shown, with your partner, like
they are treatable. They're not curable.
Okay, that's what I was getting to. Like,
so that they're not I see curable. That go across the screen. Like, make sure you say they are you could treat them, but you'll have to treat them for the rest of your life. Like, there's no, like, if I'm depressed, I can come out of depression and be good. You know what I'm saying? I'm in major depressive disorder, right? I can't come out of being a sociopath. If I killed animals when I was a child, and I grew up and I was interested in killing people, that's always going to be there. Do I have the way to manage it? Sure. I could take medication. I have a therapist. I work through my issues. And like you had in the other slide, LaDonna, you have two choices you can make. The one that you initially felt like doing, and the one you said, you know what, I don't think so. Do the opposite action. So that's what I mean. Like when I say it's not curable, I'm saying personality disorders are a lifelong. It's like type 1 diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
It's with you. It's yours. So don't act like it's not.
Yeah.
And that's what brother love is. Brother love has to own his ish and manage it that way.
Oof, so powerful. Oh. Okay, so did you actually give like what your advice would be for uh, a Cassie in that situation? Who
The best thing, she did the best thing. She got out.
she got out.
Yeah, she's not a professional to deal. Who has the skill set? Who was trained to deal with somebody with that type of disorder? I really feel sad, or I feel, I feel something for families that deal with that had no exposure to schizophrenia, but then they get exposed to it. Like that's shocking to most people. You don't understand why your loved one is acting this way, or why they act that way sometimes, but not all the time. Like you don't understand the nuances of it. That's a skill you have to develop. That it's almost like when put it this way. How some families they have somebody that develops a handicap or disability. Like you learn over time how to get them cleaned up, how to get them ready to go into the world, how to get them into the wheelchair, or how to get their leg. Like you learn those skill sets, and that's what families must do. Because you're not going to abandon your loved one. So learn the skills on how to deal with that person. Make sure that they're following their checklist. Did you take your medication today? Did you eat? Did you do your meditation? Did you, or do it with them? Like be a partner with them. If you're in a love relationship and you know that your loved one needs to work out to help manage their anxiety, baby, you want to go to the gym together? You ready to go walk? You ready to go run? Let's go. I want to talk to you. Let's go for a walk. Get them outside. Help them when they are not capable of helping themselves. And that's how you manage mental health issues in a relationship.
I love that. That actually, there's a slide that I had here that because I know you mentioned exercise. That was high on here. So like these are activities that can help when it comes to mental health coping skills. And I know, Nikita, you're going to break this down for us. But some of the things that were on the list that were high that stood out to me was like, the fact that like exercise is, that's a very important activity, self-care that can help manage some of these issues. And then also the highest was the, having a social support system.
I debate that one.
You debate that one?
Yeah. And there's no new friends culture. Come on.
Well, social could be acquaintances. You have a whole.
It can be. I did, but I want you. I'm saying, maybe that's PTSD for me in these therapy sessions. But this whole day, I'm with my day ones. Shut up, like that. What about your day twos, my dude? Like, you know what I'm saying? You talking about somebody you play G.I. Joe? They can help you cope with life. You don't know, you know what I'm saying? They the ones you drinking with. Your day ones. They the ones you smoking with.
Bad habits with. Yeah.
Right. So you need to be locking into them day fours, but day fives. People that were adults.
I look at day ones a little differently. I don't just look at like day one from day one that when I was growing up, I looked at it from like day one of us meeting and becoming friends. That loyalty is what resonates with me. So I could have met you on day two, right? And you can be considered a day one based on our friendship and how you showed up from day one. So that's just how I look at it. Okay, so Nikita.
And I'll have you pull this up later too, because those are some of the things I wanted to touch on.
Okay.
And Mikhail has did an excellent job at breaking down what it is so far as you yourself personally. And LaDonna touched on some of those factors. So I'm going to go into a little bit more of the relationship building, and not all relationships so far as like the romantic relationships, but just your relationships in general, and can also be applied to relationships. So when looking at the whole topic that we were speaking of on being mindful to develop successful relationships, we also need to understand ourselves. I'm always going to go to self-mastery. If y'all watch the other episodes, I just love tapping into self, because without understanding self, you won't be able to really tap into others. You'll just become like a people pleaser or cater to the things that they need, not really understanding yourself. So in doing so, you have to look at your attachment style, your style of communication, your conflict resolution, and then your diet and activities. And Mikhail did speak about a lot of these, but just in breaking down your attachment style, right? So when we go into the attachment style, we're talking about things that have been cultivated since you were young. How your family interacted with you. Like Mikhail said, were you held? Were you kissed? Were you, positively uplifted? And these things develop your attachment style. So when dealing with your attachment style, you can have a secure attachment style. This is when you're empathetic. You set appropriate boundaries. You feel safe and stable in your relationships. And you can own your mistakes and failings, right? You have a pretty good balance. You can also have an anxious attachment style. This is when you are overly needy, very anxious. You have a lack of your own self-esteem, or a lack of your own self-worth. And so this makes you very anxious in the relationship. And you always crave emotional intimacy. You didn't tell me you love me today. Or you have to say, I love you every time before you get off the phone. I love you. Like I told you that earlier today. Like you have to, continuously get these things to understand that you are in a relationship with someone who really wants to be with you, because of how you were raised, and, those things that you developed over time. When you have,
I got to pause you right there, because I just recognized an attachment style of mine that I was like, whoa. Okay. So for me, like I have to have like positive words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is very important to me in my relationships. And it's like, if I don't have it, I guess I do feel like anxious, like, okay, what's going on? Like,
But
wow.
I think it's natural. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's the balance. Like if someone said, LaDonna, you're beautiful, I love you so much and whatever, and then they go off, on their day. Do they have to contact you all throughout the day and be like, LaDonna, you're beautiful, I still want to be with you?
Oh, no.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's the balance. So it's nothing wrong with, you needing that. That's a part of your love language and what you need to feel loved and supported in a relationship, or just across the board, because that's just not romantic relationships. You probably would feel away if you got your outfit together and you killing, and one of your girlfriends was like, okay, girl, you wearing that? Like, you'd be like, well, why she didn't say nothing? I think this is, that's across the board. But when it comes obsessive, like, why they didn't say nothing? I told you I loved you a couple of times throughout the day, but in every interaction, every time I have to be reinforcing my love and devotion to you, then that's when it becomes, a really anxious attachment style. Michael,
okay,
did you touch on what that?
I wouldn't. You covered it.
Okay. So yeah, it's nothing wrong with that. But as long, in all of these, everything that we're talking about today is within balance. Like you said, the narcissism, the aggression, the serotonin, all of these things are fine to have. There's nothing wrong with having it. And if we weren't supposed to have these things, we wouldn't be equipped with them. It's when they become imbalanced is the issue. So even all of these things, even the secure attachment style, which is, I guess, out of all these attachment styles, the most healthy. But if you're too secure, then you kind of borderline on the next one I'm going to talk about, which is the avoidance. I'm so secure that I'm not even checking for you. I'm so secure that I know you want to be with me. Like I'm not even gonna go the extra mile. I'm not even worried about it because this is the best place you want to be. So I'm not worried about that. Or you can also in the avoidant attachment style, you can have issues with being intimate, like so far as intimate closeness. When it's time for you to have those deep conversations, or if a relationship seems like it's passing a certain point and you guys are getting really, really close, you do things to, cause distance between you and that person. You start to have issues with, open communication. You want to kind of keep things surface so that you don't have to get to, now what's I'm sorry. Okay. So yeah, you don't want to get too close. And you start to kind of abandon the relationship. These are also people that that things are going on in the relationship and you just will not address it. It's like, okay, I need to talk about this. I need to, can we discuss this? Or even if your partner, friend, or whatever is not discussing it, these are the people that you have done a wrong, or there is a glitch in the relationship. And when they see you, what's up, Michael? What's up, LaDonna? What's going on? Like nothing has ever happened. Like we skimming right over it. Like it never happened. And because they don't want to address it because they have an avoidant attachment style, I'm just going to skim over this and act like it didn't exist. And so with that, in those relationships, a lot of times the people that are with that person or are friends with that person tend to feel neglected, tend to feel overlooked, tend to feel not heard, because you're avoiding the intimacy that we have in having conflictual conversations or deep conversations. These are the people that I might be okay with you telling me some of your business, but when it comes to you expressing your utmost thoughts or intimate thoughts, you can't even cultivate those, nor do you want to talk about them. So I know your business, but you don't know any of mine. Right. And so when you kind of thinking about it, you like, hey, like, why they know all my tea and I don't know none of theirs? And that's the thing. So, and that is somebody that has a more avoidant attachment style. And then we're going to go into the disorganized or disordered. So these are the ones that, like Mikkel or Mikkel was talking about, have unreasonable fear. These are the ones that are kind of all over the place. These are the ones that, it's okay because I know you're going to leave me, or it's all right because I know you really don't want to be my friend, or it's okay. These people are the people that, they have a lack of love within themselves. These are people that kind of dealt with some big traumatic issues within their upbringing or things that happen in their lives that really affect them from really even feeling the feeling that they're worthy of even having, sustainable friends or relationship groups. And then sometimes these people also, like the avoidant or anxious, they sabotage relationships because they feel like they are, not worthy of, having them. So those pretty much are the those type of attachment styles. Before I move on, did anybody have anything to say regarding those?
What was the one after disorganized?
It's called disorganized or disoriented. They're kind of like together.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm. And this is a person that just kind of like it's like kind of like a roller coaster. It's up and down. Like at one moment they'll be one way, at next moment they'll be another, and then it's actually all of these two can be combined. So you don't necessarily have to have just one of these attachment styles. You can be combined with all of them, and I would think the closest thing to the combination of all of them is the disorganized and disoriented attachment style.
Mm-hmm. Think of somebody that always is waiting for the other shoe to come down.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can never be positive. You mentioned somebody sabotaging, like they'll be in a relationship and they'll be like, I don't like the way they drive. I mean, I'm serious. Like they will find a reason to
on that low mental, what is it?
Right.
That low mental intellectual scale.
Yeah, they will find any reason to end a relationship because in their mind it was going to end anyway because it's not supposed to work out for me
because they don't deserve it.
Right.
So I mean, just looking into these things and really just discovering for yourself, do I have some of these? You know, and we're going to talk about some of these things later on, how to figure this out, how to cope with these. But do I have some of these things, and are these me? But you wouldn't be able to know that if you really didn't just tap into yourself and figure out, you know, how do I relate to others? Or not even that, what do people say regarding, you know what I'm saying, me as their friend or be in a relationship with me? You know, certain things, you know, it can be random, but if several people that you have been friends with or in a relationship with have kind of said the same type of things, then that's something that you would really need to look into for yourself. So we're going on now to the communication styles. So there are about 5 main communication styles. One is the assertive communication style. Okay. This is when you're direct, you're clear, and you're not pushy. Right. So a lot of people that have different communication find this to be offensive because they like to kind of skim over things. Just say, for instance, if you have an avoidant attachment style, you might not like somebody that is assertive because you can't beat around the bush with somebody who is just being straight up and down. It's not a negative thing. This is just the facts are the facts, and I'm just stating the facts, you know. Or when you speak to somebody, this is how you made me feel. No, because you can't tell somebody how you made them feel. You know what I mean? So if you're expressing something with somebody and you're just being straight up and down, just being assertive, I feel like across the board is the best way to communicate. However, you might have issues with being assertive because a lot of people cannot handle that level of honesty and directness.
Yeah.
The next one we're going to talk about is being passive. The communication style of being passive. If this is a person that's a people pleaser, they're more concerned with others more than what they feel for themselves. And this kind of goes in line with the person that is avoidant to a certain extent because they just don't want to address it. They do not want conflict, even though it might not even be conflict. Just the thought of conflict, they just don't want it. So they're going to agree. What kind of food you like? Whatever kind of food you like. Do you have, favorite?
Bark like a dog.
These are the people that have pretty much a passive communication style because they don't want to ruffle any feathers. They're more concerned with being liked and not being casted out. So they will allow you to kind of run the conversation, run the relationship, whatever it is that you want to do so that you would stay around. And obviously that is attached with, some upbringing and some of those other attachment styles that we talked about earlier. But that is one of those things that is, that goes in line with a passive communication style. We also have a manipulative communication style. So this is someone who is very calculated. I would say that this, if I would, okay, so the extreme of this, y'all, this is extreme, but I would say a pimp would have an immaculate manipulation communication style. And why I say this is because somebody that is in that field, I ain't even gonna call that a career, but somebody that's in that line of work, right? You have to study the people that you're around, right? You have to study them. Can I yell at this person? No, because if I yell at that person, they're going to break down. How do I have to convey what I need to say in order for this person to do this? So if I need you to do a certain thing, I have studied you enough to understand and know how I need to talk to you for my outcome. This is a person that is not interested in a meeting of the minds, comparison, getting both people to have, beneficial outcome in a situation. I'm speaking to you and I'm talking to you in this way because I want to have what I want to have happen. And this doesn't always come in yelling. This doesn't always come in. And it's almost like one of those people that say, oh yeah, when they get cold, people get in a relationship, when that tax check come around, you get these phone calls because they have a manipulative communication style. There is something that I need from you. And so in order to get the things that I need from you, I'm going to talk to you in this way, around this time, because I know that I would have the best outcome for whatever it is that I desire.
Would this also be considered like grooming?
That is manipulation.
So you have to be careful. Manipulation in its context is the ability to convince people to do things that they wanted to do anyway. Because nobody's doing
wanted to do anyway.
Yeah, like sometimes it's hard to imagine that somebody would want to. I mean, I don't want to put any spotlight on the sex industry, but I'm thinking about and I'm only borrowing from sex industry because you said pimp. But my understanding of that space, that line of work, is something that's out of desperation in some instances, and in other instances, and I'm not talking about like sex trafficking. I'm talking about like if you watch what was that HBO special back in the day? Pimps Up Hoes Down, Out on the Bluff, up in the Bronx, New York, or whatever. They used to have this HBO special where they went and talked to these prostitutes, and it was just interesting that they wanted to be out there, right? But the pimp just made it possible because he offered protection, so to speak. He also helped manage territories between them. And what it is that sometimes people need to blame somebody else for their bad decisions. And I would imagine that in your example, the pimp recognized somebody that wants to make a bad decision and they exploited it. And I've seen it in personal relationships. Like, we mentioned Puffy and Cassie earlier, and there's in her lawsuit, she agreed to have sex with X amount of men, a male prostitute, like they were together for 10 years. She wasn't always in his presence. She could have ran a long time ago, right? And I'm not blaming the victim of someone that's been beat, but it was like some of what took place couldn't have all been without her complicit participation. And it's kind of and I'm just saying this to say that we have to be mindful that to be manipulated, there has to be a seed that's already growing. You know what I'm saying? If you call me on some old con scheme, I'm like, first of all, get off my phone.
Right.
That's not fertile ground. I'm rocky ground. You can throw whatever seed you want. It's not gonna germinate, bro. Because that's my mentality. That's how headstrong I am. For those that are not headstrong, they tend to have disruptive lives, and this manipulator comes in. I'm putting it in quotes. They come in and they help stabilize disruptive lives. Like I saw this meme or this TikTok the other day, and it was like, I don't want no man to uh I don't want no man to what I can't remember how it was. I just want a man to come help. Can I get some help? And that right there sends a signal to the ones that want to take advantage. Girl, I'll help you. You know what I'm saying? Come on, girl, I got you. What bills you got? What you got going on over here? And that is a deficit position. And I just think that, we have to be careful with that, understanding that codependency takes two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's all it really boils down to. Can it get out of hand? Yes, it did. In the instance of what we saw in that videotape, obviously things had gotten out of hand. But in the beginning,
I guess the main thing that I was speaking of is being the manipulator or the person who, like you said, you study, you look at this person, you see where there is a hole. And like you said, there already has to be that seed, yes. But you see where there is a hole and you fill it for your benefit. Yeah, you being out there, you kind of already was kind of maybe promiscuous or kind of was thinking about it already. So it was like, oh, let's make this money.
Let me organize you.
It's for your benefit.
Yeah, let's organize your home.
Right. Well, them shoes ain't gonna work. That street ain't a good street, and it's for your benefit.
Right. And I would question if every manipulative situation is something that was already that you would want to do, because the thing is with manipulators, they can plant a seed that you don't even know that is what is happening. That's part of the manipulation, right? And it's like, for the example of, I think you used sleeping with multiple, sleeping with the prostitutes or whatever when he wasn't around. Like that does, like, even if that did happen, that doesn't mean like the manipulation of giving her drugs, like, like making her believe that, hey, doing this is like satisfying, saying you're satisfying a need for me. That's what you want to do. You want to satisfy your man. This is what I want. So, in an effort to give him what he wanted, he has manipulated you into doing something that you would not have done otherwise.
Well, first of all, giving somebody drugs is illegal. You can't give somebody drugs and then have them do things, especially in the state of Georgia. Well, I'm saying like it's, but again,
the manipulation though.
So the problem in our society is a lack of accountability for all adults involved, not just the man or the woman, but both. One of the reasons why cheating is not an issue for some married men is because we don't put ourselves in positions to cheat. You're not going to see me in a Las Vegas brothel. You know what I mean? Like there's no room for that. And so that's my accountability for the role that I have. And that's what I'm saying. Like it's a bad, for example, when there's been infidelity in a relationship, it is a bad response to say it was an accident. I didn't mean to sleep with that girl. I didn't mean to sleep with that man. What? What I'm just saying, but then they'll make it seem like they had no account. They just swept me off my feet. They just this, that, and the third. They'll have all this manipulation, and to me is something that's a little bit more sinister, meaning like you can manipulate a child.
Mm-hmm.
That's, to me, is manipulation. But when you're talking about adult to adult, That's just me giving you permission to do what you want to do and be able to blame me for it.
We're gonna have to break this down, so because I'm gonna keep it pushing so we can at least like keep it under time. But I can't even accept. I just can't accept it. And then too, also, I guess I can understand.
There's a power dynamic. There's a power.
Child mind too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a power dynamic first and foremost. And I'm saying that when you have a power dynamic, meaning I have a higher intelligence of you, you know, like if you have learning disabilities, I can manipulate you. If you're a child, I can manipulate you because you're going to be disproportionately trusting of me. But if we are two adults, it's hard for me to really fathom how much manipulation is really going on when you're benefiting from the relationship. And just because just because things go left and all of a sudden, you know, it's like they were manipulated to be in a relationship. That is not true. And I'm not talking about Brother Love and Cassie. You know, I'm talking about just in general. Like when things go left, that's when you make a right turn and get the fuck out of there.
So let me just be clear. Let me make sure that I understand what it is you're saying.
Go ahead.
By scenario. So sis is like, I'm tired. I want someone to help me. Dude sees sis. I can help you, sis. I can come in there. Dude comes in. He love bombing. He paying bills. He doing all of these things. So sis is like, woo, I could finally just relax. I finally got somebody that understands me. Woody, woody, woo. But the whole time, dude is like, I am working this for my benefit. Now, the gifts slow down. You can't do the things that you want to do. Now abuse start coming in. And now this turns into a terrible relationship. And you're saying that this is not manipulation. This was the responsibility of sis because she invited dude in. Is that what you're saying?
It is mutual manipulation.
Mutual manipulation.
Okay. That's good. I know. Write it down. That's a whole other
topic. Yes, we're gonna have to put a pin in that and come back to it.
How you gonna put a pin? I ain't gonna put a pin in that.
Because we trying to. This is about to be another 3 hours. Like
no, it's not. It's not.
That so, right there, I can stay on that forever because.
But that's
what people do all the time. Like,
but I'm saying like that. So you have to understand that when you look at, if you take a temperature of our society today, and you take not temperature, but a snapshot. All right, I'm talking about somebody that. What you just explained is somebody that is actively promoting, I need help. If a man can't take care of X, Y, and Z, don't even bother me, right? She eating, her lights are on, all this other stuff. And she's advertising this body, this mind, this is for you if you can take care of all these things. She's objectifying herself, period. Because she hasn't shown anything else that she's bringing to the table. If I'm not writing a check, she invited that mentality, that control mentality man into her life. That's mutual manipulation. He gets in there. He starts doing all the stuff that she wants. He's flying her out. He's doing all this other stuff. She becomes disproportionately trusting because thank God, God has answered my prayers. And then he knocked the hell out of her. Things went left.
Right.
What should she do? Go.
She should leave him.
She should go right. If she doesn't.
But therapist Michael, you gotta. Okay, so there's this whole thing of the soft woman era, and we talked about this. Y'all go check that out. Go look at the War on Black Love, because those were some awesome episodes. But we talked about, as women, having to be so hard and independent all the time. And we want to be a little more freer. We want to be a little more transparent and open and saying, you know what? I can't do all of this. I do need help. You know what I'm saying? If you are available now, we're not talking about the city girl motto or the, ice me out. We're not talking about that. We're talking about just a woman just being transparent with, you know what, this load is heavy. And if you want to be with me, if this is something that you're interested in, this is what I have going on at my table. And a man being like, okay, I can deal with what you got going on your table. I can add to that. And we're adding to each other. So how is it in one turn that me being vulnerable and saying, I need said help, participating in mutual manipulation?
So, Nikita, if we're going to do an overview, you have to do kind of a history lesson, right? So when in history did women not need help in this country?
Never, I guess.
All right. So for you to make the fact that you had to come forward and be vulnerable and say that is stating that you actually had a different message at some point.
There was an imbalance. Yes.
There was an imbalance. And that message was, I'm independent. I don't need you, man. I don't need this, that, and the third.
Not by choice.
It's a choice to say it. It's a choice to say it.
I think that
I feel like it's just
no, I'm not. I'm talking about the messaging. Like there's different messages out there. Like Courtney had made a comment earlier because she's traveling, and somebody was like, well, "Where the kids?" And she was like, "Where they daddy?" Like I'm here, they're not here. And then they were like, "Well, who they with?" And she was like, "They have a father," because there's a Reagan era trope that Black children don't have dads. Mm-hmm. Like, why didn't the person automatically think, "Oh, they must be with Mikhail"? That's what that is. Like, but nobody, because it's the bias, it's the unconscious bias that comes into play. So when the message was, "I'm an independent Black woman, this, that, third," that was a differentiation from "I need a man." Now we made full circle back to "I do need a man."
Okay.
You have to address the first incident. It's not, in other words, if you made me used to you being independent and I had to get used to that and still be able to still be able to function in our society, still be able to have a relationship, still be able to have children. And now here in 2023, 24, y'all we're going to switch it back up to the soft era. And the man is supposed to be able to correct his tone and attitude as fast as y'all made the choice to go back to soft era is a miscalculation and manipulation. And that's what it boils down to. Like you can't expect people to move at the same rate in a relationship, in a man and woman marriage or whatever. The husband and wife are not at the same place at the same time all the time. Mm-hmm. There's a change and then a correction, but you're supposed to have grace in those relationships to allow for those corrections. There has been no grace. There has been, where are y'all? Where's this? Why you ain't showing up to the table with that? And I'm like, damn, in 2019, hell, you pretty much said, I'm going down to date white men, this, that, and third. Like, we done with y'all. Now all of a sudden it's this. Like, you can't just do that to people and expect to have a peaceful transition of power, if you will. Like,
okay, but let's specifically talk about the manipulation part though, because just because the woman has the right to change her mind, okay? So just because we change our mind, that does not mean that we should be manipulated by a man into a situation based on our wants and desires now. Like pretending to give us these things that we say that we want and desire. I don't feel like what us wanting that to like actually makes that be a manipulative thing on our side.
It's not. That's not what I'm saying.
Pretending to do it, that's the manipulation in our eyes. Like I mean, I don't understand. I understand, the example that you're giving, but the way Nikita described more
no,
so.
So let me back up and say this way. Like at the basic element, men tend to adjust to the market. So if Chris Rock's, one of my favorite jokes from Chris Rock was when he said that if women would date and sleep with men that lived in cardboard boxes, we would be some box living motherfuckers. Like, we tend to adjust to what women want to get what we want. It's not necessarily manipulation. It is literally the mutual understanding that if I come to the table with what you say you want, you get what you want, I get what I want. That's mutual. Manipulation is where I am coming into a situation where I'm in power, and I exert that power over you to do things that you would not supposed to do or normally do. That's manipulation. That's what I'm saying. You don't conflate the two. Like, they're not the same thing. If we're talking about a manipulation between a man and a woman, or a relationship, it could be man, man, woman, woman, whatever. It is a power position. A power position has to be held. But if you just out here and we meet and you saying, help me, and I'm like, I got help for you. What you got for me? You see what I got? Hourglass shape, whatever. I pay a light bill. We might have sex. And now you expect for me to continue, but I'm done, because that's what you offered me. You objectified yourself and not treat you like an object. Now you mad at me for treating you the way that you presented yourself to get what you wanted. And I took care of what you wanted, so I can take care of what I wanted. That is mutual manipulation. That's not a victim. That's not victimization.
This is definitely a topic. Okay. We're going to have a whole episode on this because really, it's really educational. It's really helping me to understand a lot of things. And then I just need clarity on, just a lot of these things in general, because I definitely don't play the victim, but I just want to know, like, what certain things are. So we definitely will do that, because you are an actual licensed therapist. So we're going to tap into that. We're also going to go into what happens when you, and I'm just speaking on communication also, not a person that has a manipulative characteristic.
Yeah.
These things, I'm just speaking about communication at this point. So also what might happen when you might feel that you're being manipulated, communicated to, you might develop an aggressive or a passive aggressive communication style. So aggressive communication style is when you're overbearing, you're loud, you're foreboding onto the other person. You are not concerned about the person's feelings or their perceptions of what it is you're saying. You're just very aggressive. And a lot of times when people communicate in this way, they don't get anything resolved on either end, because they are communicating out of anger. They're communicating out of not getting a resolution. They're just so upset and not knowing how to properly communicate that they are being aggressive. And a lot of, actually, we were speaking about the women and being in certain situations. A lot of us become passive aggressive. Okay. Passive aggressive is when you're not really using your words in aggression, but it's the actions and the things that you do, AKA being petty. You know what I'm saying? You're being passive aggressive. I'm not going to tell you that I don't want to talk to you no more. When you text me, I'm going to just leave you on red, or I'm going to do little things to communicate. If I've always had Right. Ghosting. It letting you know that there was something, instead of being assertive and letting you know there is something that you did that I was dissatisfied with or disappointed in, I'm just going to ghost you. Or in a relationship, a friendship, you do a certain thing. I call you every Wednesday, or I make your food, I make your dinner every day. But these particular times, because we're going through conflict or something that you feel that is undesirable, ain't no food. Or I'm not calling you, or I'm not washing your clothes, or things that I have developed that this is what we do in our relationship. And so these things are passive aggressive. So we talked about the communication style. We talked about the attachment style. So let's talk about the different forms of conflict resolution. And all of these, as you can see that I'm talking about, they're all interchangeable. They all kind of go together and kind of marry each other in certain characteristics and aspects of different people. So one of the conflict resolution styles is a compromising conflict resolution style. This is when you meet the needs of both parties involved, and it's the decision of both parties. So just say, for instance, and I, you know, your girl gonna go to extremes just for the spiciness of it, but you know, this marriage is getting stale. You know, what we gonna do? You know, we at the meeting table with our relationship or our friends or whatever. What we gonna do? How we gonna spice this relationship up? Would you like to bring someone into the relationship? Sure, let's do that. Okay, what are the parameters of this person? You know, what are the deal breakers? What are we participating in and not participating in? And both of us together decide this together, and then this both fits the needs of both of us involved. Okay. And this is done in a healthy relationship where both have a mutual respect for one another and want to see each person win. So that is considered a compromising conflict resolution style.
I like that.
Yes. I mean, and then in that conflict resolution style, once, like you said, LaDonna, earlier, what if I change my mind? We can come to the drawing board again and say, you know what, that did work for me at that time, but it's not going to work for me right now. Okay. And then, so then that's into the collaborative conflict resolution style. This is working together to find a solution that's going to fit both parties, much like the compromising style. However, in the compromising style, somebody might not be as down with it, but they're okay with it, right? And the collaborative, if it's not okay completely with either party, then we're not doing that. Collaborative, we're coming up with these things together. And if at any moment you're uncomfortable, even in a friendship, relationship, whatever, if you're uncomfortable with this, then we're going to abandon ship and then figure out what we can collab together to make this best for both or all parties involved. Then we go into the accommodating conflict resolution style. So this is when someone puts another person's need over their own, right? This can happen, just say, for instance, if you have a friend that has, you know, certain dietary needs. I'm going to accommodate you and we're going to go eat vegan food. I don't particularly love vegan food, but I like it enough to where if that's what you need to eat and that's what you're doing, that's what we're going to do. Or a person is doing a fast. Okay, so we might not go to an eatery at all. We might go to the park or something that doesn't involve food at all so that you can be accommodated. In a relationship, you might have to work in a certain area or have certain hours. So I'm going to accommodate my schedule to make sure that I can honor and respect your request so that you can get at this moment in time what it is that you need. And the healthy part, or to keep the accommodating conflict resolution style healthy, is to have certain time frames and boundaries to this. So, okay, I'm doing this for this period of time, or, oh, we need to live in this area or with this certain lifestyle so that we can achieve this goal. But after that, then we're going to go ahead and come back to the drawing board and switch that up so that it can be accommodating either to me or both parties involved. Another conflict resolution was not a resolution, but a conflict style is, once again, an avoiding conflict resolution style. And this is where no conflict is addressed. This also goes along with the attachment style. And you just avoid it at all costs. You avoid it at your cost of your relationship. You avoid it at the cost of your own health. And a lot of these things you can also avoid within your own personal life in your relationship with yourself, i.e., I know I'm having some symptoms within my own body. I know different things are going on, but because I have this style and it is most dominant, I'm not going to the doctor. I know I have not been feeling my best for quite some time, but I'm not going to go seek any help. I know that these relationships are falling by the wayside, but I'm not going to address certain things because my fear of having conflict or addressing these things way more heavy than getting the help that I need or solving some of these issues that I'm having so that I can continue on in these relationships or a healthy lifestyle. And then one of these also, which is not a resolution style at all, but a conflict style, is competition, right? And we all know what that looks like, feels like in relationships as well as friendships. You know, you might have a friend and it's a certain level. And like I said, all of these are within balance, except for the avoiding. I don't feel like you should avoid certain things, but in competition, it's fine to have a healthy level of competition. However, when it becomes to the point where I can no longer confide in you, we can no longer have open forum discussions, I can't really express certain things with you because you will take these things and i.e. put them on your marker as goals that you need to attain or do, so that you can compete with me and be on top. That's where the competition conflict style becomes an issue. So those are the conflict resolution styles, and some of them aren't resolutions at all, but just different ways that we can see and approach conflicts. Do we have any questions or?
I wanted to say that like you actually touched on something that I've been like thinking about, like going forward, especially like in my next marriage. Like I would like to have like this conversation, this whole collaborative communication that you described in the beginning, like before you get married, right? Before you decide to commit to the relationship, right? Where you both come together and you express like your desires, your wants, your needs, your expectations for the relationship, you know, like how we're going to handle certain situations. Like let's come together. Let's like write this all out, right? Like
On
a
the table.
combination. Yeah, like something like a combination of like the 50 Shades of Grey contract with the prenup, right? So it's like, okay, wait, no, like, stay with me, stay with me.
I'm trying.
Because like we need to talk about these things. Like, you know, how often do I want to have sex? Like, am I open
You
to
now wait a minute, hold on. Can I just say that's too much. That's too much.
that's too much to talk about?
No, yeah. How many times we're gonna have sex? It's too much. That's too much.
Expectations.
Well, I don't mind setting expectations. Those, and I don't really
Okay,
call them expectations. I call them agreements.
okay,
And
agree.
something
Okay.
like something that is intimate as how many times we have sex for the rest of our lives, but that's a little much. I think the concept of how to maintain intimacy is a more productive than to put a range on sex. Like, like how do we maintain intimacy if we know that words, your love language is words of affirmations. I'll be happy to give you a compliment in the morning, noon, and after and dinner, baby, if we can keep the intimacy together. You know what I mean? And you can decide at those hot moments whether it's going to be sex or not. But when you put too much planning in place, that makes the relationship feel like a chore versus
Okay.
something
So
that is like family.
okay, so let me roll that back. So the
Okay.
conversation about expectations around sex, I think it is important to know, like, for me to understand for my partner, like, what is, not like we're saying, okay, we're going to put this on the schedule, but like, what is, like, what do you desire? Like, is every day good for you? Is it once a week good? You know what I'm saying? Like
Well, I
setting
mean,
those
are you abstinent until you get married again?
we're just I just
No,
use
no, no.
that
I'm saying like this is to general. This is a general conversation. Like your partner's sexual ability at this adult age, to be honest, more people are trying out their partner's sexual capabilities before they get married or even get into a committed relationship. That has been
mm-hmm.
established. Now, if you want to say, what are you into sexually, and then you find
Yeah.
that, oh well, she's actually bisexual, and I don't know if I'm cool with competing with another woman. Like that's something that you discuss early on in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
People, the things that I've discovered people talk about later in a marriage is whether we should open the door to the possibility of having open relationships. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's something that's discussed later. But typically you meet the relationship where it is. If y'all popping every day, y'all popping every day. If y'all are not popping every day, I don't think it's reasonable for the guy to be like, yeah, I expect to have sex every day when we get married, even though we only having sex once a week now. Like,
Well, I think again, this is like a
yeah.
conversation agreement. Like this is not like one person saying, demanding anything. It's a collaborative communication, right? And it's but laying out your expectations in the beginning. And I think that it should be like a renewable contract, like we check
In
in.
every so often, once a year, or is this working for you, or how do you feel about this, or we've been
Yeah.
having issues with this. What's going on with that? I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I can rock with checkpoints. The
yeah.
areas that I found that has been, at least what the studies show, that couples need to discuss is spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
family, and finances.
Finance,
Mhm.
exactly.
Those are the three areas that can make and break a long-term relationship. But when you
Mm-hmm.
it's the other things that I think require a tactical conversation. So sex is more tactical. Like
Mm-hmm.
you may or may not be having it, right? And if you're not having it, it's indicator that something might be wrong. So let's have a sit down and talk about what's going on. If you're telling me, if the woman is telling the guy that I'm just not into sex right now, maybe I'm going through some changes right now. I need to go. As long as you are active and communicating what you're doing, I don't know of an unreasonable man. You know what I mean? That will be like, well, my girl got some problems. She's going to see her gynecologist, and we're gonna check her hormone levels. She's gonna talk to the endocrinologist, see what hormones are going on in her body. Because you guys have like estrogen, but testosterone is what makes you sexually active. It's not estrogen. So, how much testosterone does she have in her body versus when she was in her 20s? That number goes down just like it goes down in us. So
Exactly. And that's
that
something you all should feel comfortable talking to us
talking
about.
about,
Like,
that's right.
those changes are happening within your body. And now, your ability to, perform is like
Hmm.
these are conversations that people don't have that we should,
Right.
especially if when we're coming together in a marriage, right?
Mhm.
Because um I just feel like for some reason, and I can speak on this because I have been married and divorced. It's like you have a lot of these conversations after the fact, especially when it comes to like finances. Like, it's like all these expectations weren't met, and now you're writing them down after the fact.
Yeah.
But had you had those conversations up front, okay, how are we going to How are we going to handle, bank accounts? Are we going to have a joint account? Are we going to do this? Who's going to be, in case I, you know, decide to stay home once we start rearing children? Like, who's going to be the provider? These things we never talk about. We just kind of like assume we have our own expectations. We don't communicate it to our partner until it's an issue, until
Right.
it's like, hey, yeah, like what do you mean we're not sharing accounts? Or what do you mean like I can't have your password to your Facebook? You know what I'm saying? It's like it's just stuff that just comes up that I feel like could really be handled in a conversation beforehand. And
I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with that. Communication is definitely, out of all the things I listed, communication is a killer, or lack thereof. I mean,
that's key.
Yeah, it's key, because here's the question that she's using it too much.
Burn yourself out, boy.
Now she got to get rejuvenated. I'm TMI. I think. Well, I think it's
that's a whole nother topic too.
It is a whole nother topic.
It's unnatural. So to ask your spouse to keep up with that, and you're desensitized.
Right, you got a robot. A robot don't stop. What I will say is, I don't know that we have acknowledged the fact that we're talking about people having skills that they've never seen modeled before. If everything in life that we do is learned, who taught us to have these conversations? And what are you doing to shore up those skills so that you can have a productive conversation? And to me, that's what's really killing the couples, is that they come into it with basic skills and then expect your partner to have advanced skills. And when that partner doesn't have the advanced skills, then you want to cut and run. You dig what I'm saying? Like, yes, they may not be good at finances, but it's not their fault. They were born and they had access to this, and this is what they learned. But are they capable of learning other skills? Yes, they suck in the bed, but that's because they didn't have good partners growing up. Can they learn better? Can they learn? Are you that partner that's willing to have grace to teach them? That's where we're failing. We don't have patience. And if you remember my slide about emotional intelligence, a lack of patience is emotional unintelligence. Just because women have more understanding of their emotions does not mean they have a good understanding of how to use them properly and not be destructive in a relationship. Just like men not having understanding of their skills is just as damaging. We got a lot of skills on both sides that we need to show up instead of pointing fingers at one another.
Yeah, absolutely.
LaDonna, do me a favor and pull up that slide that you have. I'm going to wrap this last little bit up that I was going to speak about. And Michael definitely, talks about that and kind of was a great segue into this. So what do? Right? We see that these are issues. We discuss, the individual impact on being mindful of our mental health. We discuss different forms of our communication, our conflict resolution, and our attachment styles in relationships. So what do and how do we clean this up, right? And so I think one of the main things is to focus on your activity and your diet. And the only reason why I said that, and it's crazy, Michael, that you said that, because I didn't even know that some of these things were directly related to gut health, right? And so if you're putting these things in your body, if you're not having a system to where you're regulating properly, to where your colon is impacted and things of this nature, you can't even process a lot of these chemicals properly, or do things as you should, because you're not healthy on the inside, which in turn you're having an overstimulation of some chemicals more than others. So that's one thing. I would suggest that people go ahead and get their blood tested so that you can see, what's been going on with your body, what is lacking, and what is, what you need to help improve your health. And then something that I do also is, a lot of people are trendy, they're into fads and things of that nature. I would practice eat right for your blood type. A lot of people do things based on, veganism or being a vegetarian, different things because they're trendy and they see it often. But is that what's going to allow your body to operate at its optimal potential? Right? So first and foremost, fasting, getting a clean slate, getting a colonic or some type of detox to help you eliminate, to kind of have a clean, fresh start, and then eating right for your blood type, putting things in your body that help you vibrate at your highest level. And that's something that I also wanted to touch on too, as one of the solutions, right? When you do these things, so far as taking care of yourself, making sure that you're vibing on a higher level, you naturally align or fall off with certain people, places, and things, right? Mm-hmm. So that's just like a person, you've been in this relationship, you guys eat all different kind of things, you practice all different kind of lifestyles and doing whatever. One person in a relationship decides, you know what, I'm going to take better care of myself, I'm going to eat whole foods, or I'm going to participate in this lifestyle change. Now, as you're doing this, you're vibing higher than the person that you were participating in certain things with initially, right? So now you guys are having conflicts. You guys are not understanding each other as much as you used to, because our vibes are totally different. Our frequency is totally different. I'm vibing higher than you. I might be getting up early, falling into my circadian rhythm and doing things that are best for my life. And you are kind of following the things that we were doing before, which is going to negatively impact our connection in the relationship. So I think that it's important that individually and collectively, you guys are able to some type of way decide, okay, as a friendship, a collective group, we are able to just do things to allow ourselves to vibe higher together. And then that's also eliminating addictions. And like I said, everything in great balance. It's okay if you have a couple of drinks. It's okay if you like to have certain things. It's okay if you participate in medicinal or herbal things for balancing. But when it becomes something that you have to do every day to cope every day, like Michael was speaking about earlier, then that's when it becomes a problem. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have to do that. I can just stop. But when faced with actually stopping cold turkey, your response is that one of an addict. Why I can't do this, or why I can't, because you are addicted to the feeling that it gives you of the coping. And that goes with alcohol, sugar, just anything that you can use, pornography, like you said, sex addictions, anything that you can use to numb yourself from actually getting down to the nitty-gritty of the actual issue or the solution. Also, Michael did speak about journaling, and I'm going to go over LaDonna's list and kind of touch on all of these things. Oh, it's on here too. Journaling and reflection time. That's very important, because if you don't allow yourself to have that, you cannot even begin to delve into who you are, unless you go get counseling, but who you are. And
I'm gonna tell you to get a journal anyway.
okay. Look, you said to get a journal, right? So you have to get that in order to just dissect and break down who you are. How did this develop? How was your upbringing? And a lot of these things that you have to really discuss in your journal or break down or write about in your journal, they might be hard. So I would just encourage you to actually get a journal and do free writes right at first. Write whatever comes to your mind, write whatever that you're thinking about, get it down on paper, get in the flow of the habit of really getting your thought down on paper until you can actually develop topics that you can write down and really discover some healing. But like we were speaking about before, a lot of people fill up their time with being busy, workaholism, or a lot of these addictions, so that they don't have that sit down time and that reflection time. But it's very important, because if you don't have that, you will not be able to tackle a lot of these issues that you are having. So let's just go over this list that LaDonna has so appropriately come up with. I'm going to actually, these are some of the things that I had on my list also, but just going over it. And at a lot of these styles that I spoke about, having regular exercise is pertinent. It is very pertinent. And I'm not saying you always have to go to the gym, you pumping heavy iron, you're doing all this strenuous things, but something as simple as getting your body moving. Because one of the facts, and you were talking about the gut health, a lot of your emotions is stored in your mid region. A lot of your emotions is stored around your stomach. So a lot of people that have issues on getting that mid region down, or making sure that they are able to trim that waistline, is because they're not dealing with a lot of their emotions, and they're not moving the energy around in their body. So via yoga, via walking, doing things like that. And even like you said, if you love going to the gym, awesome, do those things to get off extra emotions, and get those emotions moving within your body. And then also the meditation practice. So those kind of go into your reflection time. And later on, we will definitely talk about how to properly meditate, but just even to find time to hear your own self just think, or not think at all. Just being still enough to have a check-in with yourself. And so what I like to do, and I normally do this in the morning and before I go to bed every night, is I really just look over my whole body mentally. So I would close my eyes, and in each region of my body, and I usually use the chakras, and we can also talk about that later, but I use the chakras. How am I feeling in my core? If you don't know the chakras, how am I feeling in my legs? How do my feet feel? How do my legs feel? How do my stomach feel? And just work your way all the way up. And this is something that you can do to kind of help you in the beginning stages of learning how to meditate, and learning how to prioritize that quiet time with yourself, so that you can start to develop some meditation practices, so you can even journal. Because sometimes when you can't be still enough to even meditate, it's hard for you to even write things down and to journal. Social support system. So Miguel was talking about how he had an issue with this. However, I feel like it's good, because it's good not the day ones, but finding other people that are like-minded and agree with the things that you like to do. So if you love to paint, get into a painting group. I would find that something as like meetups. These are groups that you can find people that resonate with the things that you like to do. You can find support groups this way. People that have also had some of similar life experiences that you've had, or like to do some of the things that you do. So you can have support in these ways. Also, if you are depressed, they have groups for that. If you have anxiety, they have groups for that. So just different support groups that you are able to participate in. If you don't have that immediate social friend group, because a lot of those, like Michael was saying earlier, a lot of those day ones, if they are day ones, a lot of them have helped you develop these coping mechanisms that are unhealthy. And then a lot of you guys trauma bond together. However, I do agree with the analogy that LaDonna was speaking of. My day ones don't necessarily mean that. My day ones are someone that is able to come into my life, and miraculously we are growing, we are thriving, we are doing things together. And just in participating in these forums and in these podcasts, within these last couple of months, I have developed some new day ones. So I do, get what you're saying so far as that, Michael. But just finding those day ones that are going to hold you accountable, that help you to grow, and that want to see you succeed and push forward, and likewise. And if any relationship is not allowing you to do that, then that is time to reevaluate the relationship and discontinue said relationship. And that also goes into your hobbies and your personal interests. All of these can be lumped together with the social support systems, and just making sure that you enjoy. Life is not just to be burdensome. Life is just not to be suffering, or always to have to do things that you don't necessarily want to do, but find those things that bring you joy. Whether it is, sometimes I just sit in color. It's relaxing to me, or watching different things on TV. detaching from social media and different things like that. It's not a hobby, but that is one of the things that I like to do to just make sure that I'm not ingesting too much of the I think Mikhail called it the latent issues or the latent things of the world that I cannot control. So just doing these things, and then kind of also touching back on the eating things, eating high vibrational foods, things that don't bog you down, being mindful of the things that you put in your body and in your mouth. And when you do this, does this make me feel well? Even if it might be something that society might consider to be healthy for you, does it make you feel well? When you do the thing, or you eat a certain things or drink a certain thing, does it make you feel well? Because a lot of those things can help you to spiral. But all of these things and all of these things that we spoke about, and some of these self-help and self-care tips, everything in balance. Everything in balance. As long as we are doing these things in balance, and even the communication that we spoke about, and all of these things, as long as we are doing these things in balance and having regular check-ins with each other, friendships, romantic relationships, and likewise, I feel like we will have everything that we need to have mindful relationships.
Well said.
I know that was kind of random. I was trying to get it all together.
I hope y'all been taking notes. This has been like, we went to school today. Like, I feel like if there was a quiz, man, I feel like
I'm acing it.
I'm definitely gonna ace it. Yeah, this was great. Any final words on mental health? And I would ask, each of you, Mikhail and Nikita, like what should we expect coming soon on each of your platforms around this topic? So I'll start with you, Mikhail.
For me, this is my life. So it's pretty much 24/7 on whatever platform you find me on. For the most part, this is like my focus. So obviously, I got other interest areas, other businesses, but mental health is a passion for me, or at least the treatment or the normalizing of mental health in our community. And what I mean by normal is that, if there's any other emergency, we know how to handle it. And I found that we struggle with understanding how to handle crisis, emotional crisis.
Yeah.
We tend to call the police, and they don't know how to handle it, and then we end up dead. So there needs to be a different skill set for when we're in crisis, how to de-escalate, or at least how to bring a level of calmness to a situation to where logic can come back into play. And that's my goal, every day, to kind of just expose our people to the science of mental health, like we did with this presentation and in tonight's episode. So that's what I do 24/7. So if you follow me on any platform, that's what you're gonna see at Tell Mikhail.
And I definitely have been tapping into some of your podcasts, and they are really, really good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
We be trying.
Like, you're not trying, you're doing.
I'm doing.
So far as I am concerned, you guys can tap into Nikita Nicole ULTD on Instagram, Nikita Nicole ULTD on YouTube. And what you guys will start to see from me is some consistency, y'all. I'm going to give y'all some consistency. I am very transparent with myself, and knowing that I deal with a lot of procrastination, a lot of imposter syndrome, just a lot of things that I'm working through and working with. But I am very intrigued with the mind and how it works. And I know that this is in me to do, and this is a passion. So to get out of my own head and to start doing it more often. Now, I do have things up there already that you guys definitely could tap into and check out. But I will be more consistent in bringing you guys more material on a regular basis that you guys can resonate with, because this is the new entertainment. Like, this is the new television, and us being more selective with what we want to watch having a choice with what we want to tap into and feed ourselves. And so there is a market and a lane for this, definitely. And so that's what you guys will get from me. More authenticity and more consistency.
I love it. We're going to hold you to
The
it.
anti-toxic podcast right here.
Right,
Hey,
and that's why I said it on here, so you can't hold me to it. But it's time. It's time. It's definitely time. And this is a part of my life purpose. And so yeah, for sure.
awesome. I'm excited but yeah, both platforms. Some great things coming. For Smart Love, we're going to continue to, have these conversations. I'm really focused for the next 30 days on our men, our fathers. Father's Day is coming up, and our men, they're feeling like, they don't get the same appreciation or the same love and all of the hype and hoopla we do for Mother's Day. The men are feeling some type of way. So I want to focus probably the next few Smart Love Sundays. We're going to like highlight some fathers and sons. I have a great treat for you next Sunday. The father and son are going to come on and talk about their story. I want to get out to the barbershops and like hear what the fellas have to say. So we might, be broadcasted live from a barbershop, probably not on a Sunday because they close on Sundays, but
and they close on Sunday and Monday.
And Mondays. Okay, so it might have to be. I got to make sure it's not like
Smart Love Saturday.
Saturdays, I gotta make sure it ain't like a football game going. I'll figure it out. But I want to hear, I want to give men the opportunity to express themselves like this, like just having this platform. Like there's so many men that have reached out to me like, oh, I want to come on. I want to come on. I want to talk. So I think it's great. Like we want to hear from the men more. We want to, be able to understand, especially, some of these mental health issues and things like that. Like let's create an environment that is okay and safe to talk about these things and be vulnerable and open up. And so yeah, a lot of great things coming on Smart Love. And of course, I'm always gonna look out for my ladies because we need love too, okay? Especially my Black women. Like I'm trying to bring us all together, and we can use some empathy from the men as well. So that's what you're gonna find on Smart Love. Like, and we're gonna continue to spread knowledge, spread game. That's what we're about. So thank you both for joining me. Thank you everyone for that's tapped in or that's gonna watch this on replay. You can still submit your questions. I will make sure that if you have something for Nikita or Mikkel, that you get your questions answered. Make sure you join our group, the Smart Love group on Facebook. It's growing. I think we're about at like 108 people now. We're about to start doing events. We're gonna have some exciting conversations going on in there. And yeah, so let's just continue to grow and share knowledge.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Thank y'all. This was very informative. I loved it.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. I didn't mean to stir the pot, but
it's on now.
We've been talking about this master manipulation. We gotta keep this conversation going in the group.
Back office, in the group.
Yeah, the back office. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining. Have a
Thank you. Good evening.
Have a good night.
And we are